I believe we are now live. Let's let this catch up 1 second. I apologize, my allergies are just, for the last 2 days, been through the roof. I took my Claritin, but I'm still all sneezy, and you're gonna have to listen to me sniffle, and I hate that sound, but unfortunately, it's what we're gonna deal with. So let's see, today we are working in colored pencil. Let me refresh this really quick. Get that caught up. There we go. Okay, now we're caught up. So I am working in colored pencils. I'll be using a combination, most likely, I don't know, we'll see what I grab, of Luminance, Faber-Castell Polychromos, and my Derwent Lightfast. Not as many of the Derwent Lightfast because I don't think they have the magenta and the pinks that I'm looking for. I'll have to, there's a few in there I'll use, but not many. Whatever colors you have, see, I'm already sniffing, I'm sorry. Whatever colors you have, totally fine. You could paint this in green if you want. It's not a big deal. What we're gonna be working on are our values. Are our lights light enough, darks dark enough? Now, I am working on Canson Mi-Teintes colored pencil, or Canson Mi-Teintes black paper. And the reason that I went with this, one, I mean, it's nice because it does make for a very fast project, but I needed a fast project to be able to do this in a live stream colored pencil. As you know, very slow medium. So I wanted something where I wasn't having to fuss over the background. I'm using the smooth side. That is important. You've got a smooth side and a more textured side. For colored pencil, the smoother side is better, which I think is technically the back of the paper. But the other thing I want to point out, if you are working on white paper, don't worry. Like, you can go through with your black pencils and make your background black. And I will say, those of you who go through with your colored pencil to make your background black, it's going to be a deeper, darker black than what we're going to get on the Canson Mi-Teintes. Now, we could go over that with black pencil, or you could, not me. I'm not going to do that today, but you could go over the black with a black pencil and make it even deeper too. The other thing I want to point out, our light areas are not going to be on black paper nearly as bright or vivid in color as they would be on a white paper, just because the colored pencils have a translucency to them, or somewhat transparent. And so they're not, some of the paper is showing through, some of the black is. So you're just not getting the brightness that you would get on a true white paper. So for that reason, more often than not, I do not work on black paper, but there are certain projects like this one I think will be a really fun one. And while my whites and brights may not be as bright as they are on the white paper, it's still going to be pretty. Okay. Couple, let's see, make sure I'm caught up with everybody. Hi, Gail. Sergio said, me happily grabs a piece of arches, finally a stream I can paint along with. Sees it's black paper. Dang it. Yeah. Sorry. Grab your arches though. That's the cool thing. You can go through and fill it in with black, and yours is going to be more vivid in color than those of us who are working on black. So technically yours will be better. It will just take more work. So you guys who are working on white paper, you're totally fine. Don't even worry about that. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to block in where my lights are going to go. And I'm going to use a Derwent Drawing Chinese White, because I know that needs to be really light. Oh, I probably should have grabbed some pencil sharpeners. These are not my better ones. Now, normally I would put paper like glassine or something like that under my hand so that the oils for my skin are not getting on the paper. This is not something I'm selling, so I'm not super worried about it this time. But if you are working on something that you really want to be good and you really want to last, put a piece of paper, ideally glassine, because it is acid-free and it won't stick, like pencil won't stick to it, so you won't get smudge marks under your work. If you don't have that, a piece of tracing paper, just any paper. Anything you have is better than nothing. So I'm going to go through and I will push a little bit harder on areas that I want to be white. Now, the white, the reason that I'm going with my Derwent Drawing Chinese White, this is the most opaque white colored pencil that I found. Now, on the flip side, the downside to this is it's a very thick lead. In order to be that opaque, it's kind of thicker, and it's going to be more prone to breaking. So it's not one that I'm going, because it is very high wax-based wax content. I'm not going to use it for fine details. Then I'll usually switch over to my Derwent, or I'm sorry, my Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils. Let's see, Boots Diamond Painting Art Mama said, what 5 Derwent Lightfast pencils do you recommend to try with them? I've actually got those in front of me right now, really quickly. Like my must-haves with my Derwents are the Violet, Nightshade. I'm a big fan of Heather too. It's like a soft lavender color. My toenails are painted that color. No one cares. See, this is the sort of thing that mean people start talking crap. Why are you wasting my time talking about your toenails? Yeah, we had an incident like that recently. But Nightshade and Violet are my two like must-haves. The rest, I don't remember off the top of my head. I really like a lot. Any of the violet purpley colors I really like in that set. I mean, I like all the colors, but those are like must-haves for me. Okay, we've got a light area over here. And if I put something where it doesn't belong, it's not the end of the world. We can put darker colors over it. And we're gonna just block in these light. Now, a lot of these are going to be pink, but I'm gonna put white first, which will help keep it nice and light, being that we're on the black paper. That's going to aid in that. Mia said, so happy to catch your live stream on another time more than 4 o'clock in the morning. As usual here in Sweden, it's 2:20 in the evening. Looking forward to this. Thanks for joining. Baby Panda said, hi Lisa, what about doing a white base layer and putting colored pencil over it to make it more vibrant? You can do that sort of, but whenever you put a color, so let's say I'm painting white here, when I put a color on top, it's going to make it more pastel, more dilute. It's not going to be as rich as the color itself in the pencil. So it lightens it, but it also really shifts that, like the saturation of the color. Another alternative would be Touch Up Texture Titanium White Mixture. Put that down first. Then, now that's not going to blend in with it. That stays put. But like the white that I'm putting here, anything I put on top, they're going to blend together. They're going to mix. Let's see. Where were we? A couple more questions and then we'll get some more work done. Barbara said, hi Lisa, I do not know if others experience this, but your second falls away every second or so. I'm guessing stream. Second fall. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm sorry. Jamie or Jaime, I'm not sure which, said, thank you so much for being here. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. I apologize for not getting your name right, I'm sure. I'm really bad with names, I'm sorry. Jason said, dang it, I don't have any black. Give me another hour to go to the store. Oh wait, none of the stores are open, yeah. But again, if you do your paper, use white paper, make your background black with your pencils like you normally would, yours is going to look better than mine. You're going to have a richer, deeper black. Mine's a very kind of muted, charcoal-y, like it's not a deep black. You can see on the paper, I mean, the way that the light hits it, it's just not the same as what you would get with black, or black pencil. Iona said, please waste my time and talk about whatever you like. I'll happily listen to anything. Thank you. I forget, my camera's over here now. Usually it's on everything's mixed up. But thank you. Where were we? Baked in Time and Painting. And Art Mama said, you can talk about whatever you want. It's your live stream. Thanks. You guys are really sweet. Barbara said, oops, sorry, your sound. Oh, my sound. Oh, everything's plugged in. I don't know how to fix that. Try refreshing your screen might help. I don't know if anyone else is having that problem, but I'm not sure what would fix it. Let me make sure. Do I only have one mic going? Yeah, it should just be the one mic, so I'm not sure why that would be happening. Could be an internet thing. It looks like my connection's excellent, so I don't know why that's happening. I'm sorry. Tanya said, perfect time here, 20 a.m. Denmark. Normally I have to set my alarm to 3 a.m. Ouch, that's early. Let's see, aiming for an Inktense live stream next. We are going to have one. If my supplies come in time, then this next Wednesday's live stream is going to be the acrylics using the primary colors. But I don't know if my Quadonkadonk red, as I keep calling it, is going to be here. And also, I sort of apologize, but I sort of also want to say you're welcome for that. That's never going to get out of your heads. You guys are all going to be calling it Quadonkadonk red now. But if those come, then on this coming Wednesday will be the that. If not, maybe we'll do Inktense. But I'll try to do one. If it's not Wednesday, then maybe Friday will be the Inktense video. One of them will be Inktense. We'll do that. I have no idea what the project is going to be yet, though. My neighbor is mowing, so you're going to hear a bit of noise there. It shouldn't last for too long. I complained, but he just did my yard. So, you know, he can make all the noise he needs. But that shouldn't last too much longer because I know he's got to go to work soon. Okay, we're going to pull that in. And I'm just kind of curving. Now, one of the things you want to watch is I'm doing a lot of these, and this is going to be true pretty much no matter what I'm doing. If I'm doing something that's like in nature, flowers, trees, bushes, animals, people, anything that's organic, I'm not going to be, maybe that's not the right word, but I'm not going to do a lot of straight lines. So here, what you may be tempted to do when I'm curving and getting these streaks, you're gonna wanna do straight lines. No, don't do that. Your brain's telling you, just make straight lines. No, they're not. They're slightly curved. Everything is very slightly curved. That is important. Now back here, I can't see because the lighting and this is the one bad thing about streaming in the day. I haven't set up my curtains or windows in a way that I can see my reference photo well. We'll look back here at this one. The glare is hitting it, so you'll see me backing away to look at it a few times today. So let's see if I've got a decent color. First, I'm gonna see if I've got a color that's similar to what I want. Ooh, that will definitely be one, but it's not really what I'm looking for. I'm gonna pull out some of my light fast, or my Caran d'Ache Luminance, some of the brighter pinks, because I know I'm going to need those. Now, whenever possible, when I'm working on black or colored tone paper, I typically am gonna go towards my wax-based pencils because they're gonna be more opaque. I'm gonna leave my oil-based, so like my polychromos, for fine details, but mostly I like to use the wax-based, so Prismacolor would also fall in that, not for me personally, but if you have those may be a good fit for you for that. Polychromos has a lot of really good pinks though, so I'm probably gonna have to use at least a few of those. What I'm looking for is this color that is going to line here. What do I want to go with? Actually, I think I'm gonna see how my light fast shows up. I'm gonna use my Derwent red. Ooh, that's gonna give me that nice glow that I want. So that will be what I use for that edge, but I'm using anything that's kind of a crimson red, like a red. Use that here. We're gonna be using a combination. I did not plan the lighting out in here very well. Let's see if I turn that, if I can see it better. Not really, I think I just made it worse. But I'm going to go ahead and there's a lot of red. We're gonna be combining reds. We're going to be putting magentas. Some of them are cooler, some warm. We're gonna be mixing a few of those together in here. Let's see. Nick said the sound is good. Okay, good. Oh, the problem is on Relens sound issue. Okay, good. I mean, not good that you're having problems, but good that it's not something I have to try to fix right now. That is a very selfish comment on my part. Let's see. Boltnick said, I have the Inktense blocks of 72, so hit that project. Yeah, it will definitely, I'll definitely be using the blocks because they save a lot of time. Pamela said, hi Lisa, I'm watching from Argentina. Prismacolor white is opaque enough. It should be good for you. Yeah, the Prisma white's pretty opaque. It's not quite as opaque as the Derwent drawing, but it's close. You'll be good with that. Vitolani said, I've enjoyed your paint-along so far, but I don't paint. I'm looking forward to taking part in this coloring one. Will we get any more in the future? Yeah, I'm trying to mix things up and get some different, I'm going to keep using this Derwent red in this part here just to sketch this in. This is not going to be bright enough, but I can at least get an underlaying of some of these lines there. Hopefully those are showing up for you guys. Let me make sure that that red is. I might have to adjust my color. Oh, you can't see anything. Okay, hold on 1 second. I need to adjust this so you can see what I'm seeing. That is so nowhere near. I was worried about that with the lighting in here. I'm glad I noticed that now versus later. No, that's not going to do it. Nope. And not really. Hyping up the saturation may help. Okay, so that's going to make it a little too bright, but at least you can see what I'm doing. Maybe I can adjust then. There we go. That's going to give me, yeah, that looks about like what mine looks like. Of course, my fingers are a very weird color now. Let's see. That's better. Maybe a little bit more on the saturation. You'll have to deal with my weird colored fingers to get the artwork to look right. I may have to check that a couple of times as we work, but that gives you a better, I didn't realize you couldn't see the red there. That would have been a problem. Oops, scrolling on. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I do plan to get a few more, like I want to keep doing several of the different mediums like this. So hopefully that is the plan. So I'm going to pull more white in here. What I'm doing is just mapping everything out. I'm not really worrying about blending right now. I'm just getting a general idea for where things are going to go. I'm going to go ahead and pull this white down. But see how I want to keep this outer edge sharp, and this is going to be a soft edge as I move into the reds and pinks. make sure this isn't anything I have to respond to right now. Uh-oh. Hold on. Apparently I have to sign for something at FedEx. Do I have to do this right now? For something, for something that's for tomorrow. So, fun story. Well, I've got so many deliveries coming this weekend. So, I have talked about wanting to get a new vlogging set for our camera for, gosh, over a year now. I made a video a while back on how I wasn't getting a lot of vlogging done because of that. And I just needed to use what I had. And so the point was, you don't need the best, just use whatever you have. But I've still needed to upgrade that. So I've been saving, and I finally bit the bullet and went ahead and got the camera. It's an older one. It's a Canon M50. So it's not like a new setup. They have newer versions, but they cost like twice as much. And honestly, this is going to do what I need. No, it's not going to be able to do 4K well, but it is, for what I need, or 4K and all. It can do some, but apparently the quality is bad, so it's not something I'll utilize. But as far as vlogging just in general, this camera should do what I need it to do. So that is coming. That's what I just got a notification that I have to sign for tomorrow. I got a new tripod with a fluid head. I bought I've been saving all of this for all of this camera equipment I wanted to upgrade. So it's not so much for this portion of the video, but just vlogging, art tips, that sort of thing. That is, I'm really excited about. So the first video I'm going to record probably, I don't know if I'm going to work on it on Sunday or Monday, but this week I've talked about doing the how to take care of your orchids, or how to keep orchids alive, I think will be how I title that, along with an orchid painting video. That's going to be the first thing I film on this, and then I probably should do another video talking about the equipment that I use for filming. But I'm really excited about that, having equipment that will make it easier to do vlogging. Right now, what I have makes it fairly difficult, so this will streamline the process quite a bit. So we've got two brighter lines here. We'll go ahead and push a little harder there. So this gives me a pretty good, excuse me, map of where, let's actually get a little bit in here. I'm going to switch to a grayish tone. Let's see, we've got a lot of grays in the Derwent Light Pass. That was one thing that I was kind of like, that's too many grays. What would I ever need this many grays for? This is what I need this many grays for. So I'm kind of glad for it right now. This is why I like to have lots of different brands of pencils, because if one doesn't have a certain, like a lot of grays or a lot of whatever, usually another set will. I'm going to use a blue. And just for transparency, Derwent did provide me with the Light Fast set. And there went my airbrush. So let's see. But the rest of these pencils I've purchased myself. Yeah, all of the others I'm using. I'm going to pull a little bit of blue on that gray here. I think that'll be prettier. Let those mix together, and I'll do the same thing on some of these back areas. Okay, so we've got that general map of where are my lights, where are my darks. Let's go, well, kind of. I'm going to go ahead and start pulling in where some of the pinks are going to be in this area, and where the darks are going to be as well. Phil said, your videos gave me the idea to try to do the underpainting in digital drawing and then add the color. Biggest time saver ever. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, underpaintings make things way easier. Oops, let me scroll back up. We've just missed, I've missed a bunch, I should say. Brittany said, we must be on a wavelength. I've been doodling tulips all week. I wanted to improve a lot. Your videos are like art therapy during this time. Thank you. Oh, that's good to hear. Jason said, what colors do you recommend to start with Caran d'Ache? I remember you saying something about it before. It depends on what you're doing. I mean, any of your lighter cream, pinks, the pale tans, any of those were the ones that I was like, these are your must-haves for Caran d'Ache, because I was using them more for portraits at the time. Like, that's really why I needed those. But any of those should be good for you. I don't have a specific list. Let's see. Andrea said, which kind of platform do you use to stream? OBS. That said, thank you. Pick much better to see. Really enjoying watching. Marilla, I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name, said, hi from Portugal, testing my Lightfast 100 set for the first time. Oh, you've got more than me. This project has inspired me with a postcard for Mother's Day. Nice. By the way, you are amazing. Stay safe. Thank you. Jessica said, I was painting along with your first Paint With Me live stream, the surreal seascape scene. Today I'm 50% though. Nice. Paige said, I got like $800 of art supplies to keep me busy during quarantine. You totally need to try Winsor & Newton watercolor sticks. They are like Inktense, but more like watercolor. Interesting. Oops, we scrolled somewhere. There we go. Okay, and just a reminder, make sure you're doing the @Lachri fine art. If it does not highlight in orange, I just don't see your question. It's not that I'm intending to ignore you, but that's pretty much what I will do. Okay, so I'm going to use, for here, this is the Caran d'Ache Purplish Red. Sounds like something I'd name it. And I've got this center area that needs to be a lot more, like this has a more purple tint to the pink. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go here. Now I'm not using super like amazing pencil strokes. Usually if I need something to be really smooth, I'm gonna keep my pencil really sharp. I'm gonna work my pencil in small circles, little ovals, something like that. And that's going to give me better coverage on the paper. Here, I'm gonna do a few different layers, and just the way Canson Mi-Teintes, it generally blends out pretty well either way. So I'm not gonna worry too much about that. I'm being a little bit messier. They're still ovals, they're just a bit bigger than what I typically would do. We've got a pink area going here. Now this can be sketchy because we do have lines in there, but we wanna make sure that if you are doing sketchy lines, that they go the right direction. So watch your reference photo there. And if you have not already gotten this reference photo, you can get it over at patreon.com/Lachri. You do not have to be a Patreon member. I can't talk today. Who am I kidding? I can never talk. But you can go ahead and download that. This photo came from Pixabay, but I went ahead and uploaded that there so you could find it easily. I'll have to mix some white in with this to lighten a lot of these areas up, but at least I can get an idea of where these are going to go. Now we've got these pink colors. So here, nope, I do not have the color as much as I really do like my wax-based pencils for working on the darker paper. I don't have that, so that's where I'm gonna go, even though I'm not just doing details. I've got just such a wide variety of all of the pinks that I could possibly want with the polychromos, so I'm gonna switch over to those for some of these. This is a little bit more peach, so we can go with that for the Caran d'Ache. A little bit here. And then that will fade into the back. Let's see, this is actually good here. We'll get a highlight, lighten that up. I would say we just layer. We look at the reference photo and just layer and try to copy what you see. Now, if you start getting overwhelmed where you're just like, there's too much going on all over the place, work on one petal at a time. Don't feel like you have to jump around. You want to go with what you're comfortable with. With art, there's not a single right way to do things. You're going to have 20 different ways, probably more like 100 different ways to get to the same end. The trick is to figure out what you're comfortable with. So if you see one artist, me, or anybody else doing something a certain way, please don't feel like that's the only way to do it. And if that way doesn't work for you, you're doing something wrong. If that way doesn't work for you, then that way just doesn't work for you. You have to find an alternative. But don't feel like you have to do everything in the same order. Go with what's comfortable for you. Everybody's brain is going to process it a little bit differently. So you've got to figure out what way your brain kind of makes sense of it. I'm going to use that Derwent red again, if I can find it. Where'd it go? There we go. Nope, that's not it. Pull a few more up here. A bit more of the red. My grammar today is excellent. I'm just gonna fill this in with that red, and then I'll put darker colors over it. At this point, I'm just kind of blocking in about where stuff's gonna go really quickly to get the black of the paper covered, and then I'll start correcting things once I start blending over it. This will work as a decent base though. Iona said, I'm still hunting for my purplish red. We've got this highlighted area. We'll lighten that a bit more. And then the center is going to be darker. Let's just pull that dark in there so I don't lose the location there. So right now everything is very dull, very muted. As we work through, we're gonna start hyping up that contrast and really building to get the depth in the piece. But when these first few layers, they're not gonna be very cute at all. Don't feel like that means you're doing something wrong or it's bad. You're just gonna layer till it looks good. Now, the one thing I will tell you, it's a good idea, don't push very hard with the pencils. The only time I really push hard are some of the edges, but with the white especially. But if you push too hard too soon, you're going to get to where you just you damage the tooth of the paper, and then the paper won't take more layers, so you're limiting yourself. By layering in lighter layers, multiple light layers, it gives you a lot more control. Oh, hold on. Making sure this is not something I need to go grab from the front door. I apologize. Everything is a little bit harder for me to live stream during the days because there's more stuff going on around here between yard work and Ring is not going to show me my door. Okay, it doesn't look like there's anything important. Oh, I do have a box. That might be important enough to go grab. Wait, no, that's Amazon. Amazon I don't think is worth much if somebody walked off with it. What came from Amazon today? Nothing came from Amazon today. I don't know what that is. I wonder if I should go grab that. One thing I ordered is a kitchen item, and that may cost a bit more, so I don't really want someone walking off with that. But if that was an Amazon box, that's not what it is. I don't know what is out there. Anyway, I'll stop rambling about it. Oh, thank you, Snack Dealer. Snack Dealer said only tulips I like are the ones below your nose. What? Am I using OMS today? Yes, I am. Nikayla said, what's the best platform to sell on? I've heard that eBay isn't too great, that the algorithm sucks on Etsy. You know, the thing with eBay used to be better. With any platform, it's going to be best if you're sending people to it, especially with Etsy. Etsy, you're right. In order to stay up, you either are paying for promotions or you're paying to relist the item constantly so your item comes up at the top. Whereas eBay, at least this is how it was. It could have changed, so someone go ahead and fact check me on this. But the way it used to be, the item that was ending soonest would be at the top of the list. So if that were the case, with Etsy, each day that goes by, your item drops further and further down the list, whereas eBay was the reverse. I preferred eBay's. The other thing was with eBay, back when I was selling on there occasionally, and I need to do some tests because I want to do some videos and talk about like how it seems to be now versus what it was when I used to sell a decent amount on eBay. The way that eBay is, you were able to sell or list like 49, I think, auction style listings for free. So you weren't out anything if it didn't sell. Whereas Etsy, you were paying either way. So that was a bit annoying. And Etsy would also refresh lists. Etsy, when I stopped, was doing some weird things where I'm like, that seems kind of shady. I'm sure they fixed it. But they are not my preference for sure. I shop on Etsy a lot, because I do like to buy handmade things when possible, like my camera bags, and I'll be sharing that with you. I'm having one of them custom made because I wanted the teal, and the other ones that she had, and it was cool because I was able to get 4 camera bags. 2 are probably just going to fit my GoPro, and then 2 for the new vlogging thing because I want to take my camera with me everywhere. By the way, I just switched to orange. This is the Caran Luminance. I want to make this glow a little bit more on the photo. So the reference photo, we loosely base things on the reference photo. I'm getting my general lights and darks, but some of these I'll go off on a little bit because as an artist, you want to, what would look better, think about what would make your piece look better. Don't feel like you have to copy the reference photo exactly. Sometimes you will change things because it will look a lot better. But yeah, the Etsy one, like there's a seller who sells a lot of handmade bags, and she's, I was able to get 4 from her for the price I was going to spend on 1 camera bag. So that, I'd rather get the handmade or the custom or the handmade ones and help out another, crafter or artist or whatever. So I love shopping on Etsy. I just did not have good, when I was selling prints and such, they just didn't do well. Now that was years ago. Maybe things changed. I don't know. I've had a few people tell me when I've talked about that it didn't change, that it still kind of sucked. So that's something to keep in mind. But let me see. I need a really dark, almost black. Ooh, you are probably going to work for me. You are Crimson Aubergine. That might work, or actually, probably should go ahead and switch if I've got a good color in polychromos, because those are going to be more translucent. How much do you show up? Maybe too much. See, here's another thing with drawing. We have this thing in our head that professional artists always know which pencil to grab, always know what's going to work best. I just proved we don't. We absolutely don't. I'm not sure which color is going to give me what I'm looking for in this area. I'm going to try a couple. I even try, and you can try it on a scratch piece of paper. I don't care. I'm just going to blend it out and layer. It's not going to show that I picked two pencils that I'm not super thrilled with either one of them. We tend to get, let's try one of the Derwent Light Fast. We get so worked up in our head that if we don't know exactly which green to choose, if we don't know exactly which red, we can't create good art. If we only knew the color doesn't matter. Not that much. There are times as I'm making a big deal about quadonkadonk red, but I can never get it right. But anyway, there are times where it matters. Mostly it doesn't. Most of the time, it's about your values. Are your dark enough, lights light enough? In this case, my values are not going to be what I want, and that's why I'm switching. But I got this one. I've got a couple of really dark ones. Either purple or deep rose. I think purple will work for me. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I need. That's in the Derwent Light Fast. But you're constantly experimenting. Being an artist is about experimenting and trial and error. Always. That will never end. Don't hold yourself up and be afraid to complete something because you're so afraid of doing the wrong thing, or I don't know which color to choose, so I'm just going to be paralyzed in fear and not try something. I tried 3 different pencils before I found one I liked, and I tried them on the art piece, and no one will ever know but you guys because I just told you. No, like if I wouldn't have pointed that out, no one would have noticed, no one would have cared, and you're still not going to care. I mean, it's fine. I didn't ruin anything, but we tend to get so worried about messing something up, and we just don't progress. So don't do that, and don't feel like all artists always know exactly what they're doing with every pencil stroke, no, we don't. Everything is experimenting constantly. Okay, I need a black. Or actually, let's get a nightshade pencil out, and you will. Let's see. Phil said, don't know what is behind you, but it looks like a small cow in the video. Is it one of your assistants? Yes, it is. Wade is in that bed. Gibson's over in the other one. We have to separate the beds, otherwise Gibson gets a little angry. Gibson doesn't want to have anyone near his bed. Let's see. Viewers can choose which order they want items to appear, ending soonest price, etc. Yeah, that's on eBay, right? I'm not sure with Etsy. But you've got, for eBay. The problem is, too, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of buyers, I'm using black now for some of the deeper areas, a lot of buyers don't realize that they can change that. So they're going to go by what's the default. And the default on a lot of these is kind of usually what you're going to want to base a lot of your, marketing strategy on. Because that's what most people are going to see. So we're getting these darker values in there, especially around the edge where we want it to just kind of fade into that background. Okay, let's blend. I'm going to use, this is the Dark Flesh, which I believe they recently changed the name, or they're going to. The word flesh just makes me think zombies. I don't know if anyone else's brain jumps there or if I'm just insane. It could go either way. So keeping those streaky lines again. So I get that detail in the tulip. It's funny, I love tulips, but I never plant them because they at least here, maybe it's different in other areas, it gets too hot too quick. Like by the time they come up, it's hot. Texas is weird. So they just never last long enough for me. I tried them in pots for a couple of years, and I'm like, I can enjoy you for 2 days. That was a little bit of extra work for 2 days. We'll go with something else. Now remember with your odorless mineral spirits, when you blend that out, if you do not have enough pigment, if you don't have enough colored pencil on the paper, the OMS doesn't have much to work with. So it gives you results you're probably not looking for. So that's why I'm going over this with this pencil. This one again is that one is called Dark Flesh. It's kind of a coral type color, and I'm lightly going over this just so that there's color on there. And this does actually blend out a lot all on its own, but I'm going to go over a lot of this and let it blend, or I'm layering more pigment, but I don't want to push too hard because I don't want to let it blend too much. I want to do that with the OMS to get a softer blend. And I'm going to go back over with the white again. Our cotton watercolors are archival. I'm not sure. I'm definitely not a watercolor expert. I would contact the company should you have information to let you know if they're light fast. But I am not super familiar with a lot of the different watercolor brands. Maybe somebody else can let you know, but the manufacturer should have that information. If the manufacturer is not telling you what the light fast ratings are, assume they're not. Because if a company spends the money to do light fast ratings, they are going to be bragging from the rooftops about that. So if they are not, then you can safely assume they did not test. And there are a lot of companies. I know with colored pencils, there's a lot of the like Rembrandt and not Rembrandt. That's not right. Marco Renoir, whatever. Those brands, they are not light fast. Now maybe they'll make some, or maybe I don't know. They may have made new ones. But I talked to that company, and they're like, they claim on the pencil things like excellent light fast quality or something like that, but they didn't test them. So, or fade resistant. I think that's what some of them will say. They're fade resistant, except you didn't test them. So you don't know that they're fade resistant. So you've got to watch some of the kind of sleazy marketing some companies will do. I'm not saying the Marco one, whatever, is sleazy. I'm just, using that as an example because a lot of them you see on Amazon too. A lot of the ones that come out of China, they'll make some really kind of crazy claims that they did not test for. We see that a lot. So be aware of that. I'm going to push harder here on the white that I want to be clean. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and blend this. If I can find my OMS. So with the odorless mineral spirits, I'm using Mona Lisa odorless mineral spirits. Gamsol will work exactly the same. Oops. Hold on one second. I do not have the type of paper towel I need for this anywhere. Nope, I don't. 1 second. So I'm using a Viva paper towel. Either use an old t-shirt, an old rag, or Viva paper towel. Bounty paper towel with OMS, you put one drop and it just spreads everywhere. So that is not an ideal choice. What I'm using is Viva. Again, an old t-shirt will work well too. And I'm using a Taklon bristled filbert. This one's by Simply Simmons. And I'm going to go ahead and blend. Now, everything as I blend on the dark paper, it's going to look like everything gets dark. Watch when it dries though, it'll come back to more opaque. This is just what happens when you blend and the black of the paper is showing through. If you're working on white paper, you're not going to experience that. You won't really notice a difference in a shift of values there. When it dries though, it'll go back to where it was. And my goal here is to blend it out, try to get rid of those little grainy gritty bits, get everything nice and smooth. And I'm blending one section at a time. I'm not just taking the brush and going every which direction because the brush, especially in this case, it's going to create some streaks. I want to make sure those streaks are curving in the direction of that flower petal. And then as we wait for this to dry, I'll get caught up on some questions. And I'm trying to keep the odorless mineral spirits on the paper. One of the things that can happen on toned papers is it can leave, like if you use too much and you get a big blotch of OMS on an area that you do not plan to fill with color, it can leave an oil stain. Does it hurt the work? No. I mean, it's not really making it non-archival or anything, but you've got a big oil stain. So unless you're going to go over that area with more pencil, if you're going over it with pencil, you don't even have to worry about it. But if you're not, you don't want certain papers will do it. I've seen it on Stonehenge, Fawn Stonehenge I used. It was probably one of the worst I experienced that with. That was like, wow, that left a super oily oil stain, which is fine. Just go over it with your pencils and it'll cover it up. But do be aware of that. In this case, I don't want to fill in the background. So I don't want oil stains. So I don't want to oversaturate my brush and have it just spread all over the place. Again, working that brush the direction of the tulip or the petal. Here, these are just kind of solid, so you can see I'm working in little circles. I'm not really trying to create streaks on these back ones. Keep those edges clean. Be careful about that. We don't want fuzzy edges. Well, okay, I take that back. This one, if you're blending it into the background, they can be slightly fuzzy, but I don't mean that. I mean, we don't want bumpy, we don't want the little dots of the tooth of the canvas showing there. We want it to be clean. If I wanted to fade that out, I would use black and overlap that a little bit into the flower to soften, which I am not going to worry about on today's project. So see, again, with that edge, keep that nice and clean, and then I'll pull it in to the rest of that petal. You know, here I'm pulling some pink. It's getting up where I need it to be really white. Doesn't matter, I'll go back over it with white. The center, I'm going to use a little bit more OMS to speed that up because I'm not worried about it bleeding out. I'm not up against the edge of the paper. I really like the Canson Mi-Teintes 4-colored pencil because your pencil, like, it has just a really nice amount of tooth, so the pencil sticks in a way, like enough of it sticks that it just blends out really smooth. I mean, this is my first time blending and look how smooth that is. That's really good. So I definitely am a fan of the Canson Mi-Teintes. I've got this in a few different colors. I've also used their art boards and been really happy with them. I don't know why I don't use them more. There's so many papers that I like. And you can get the Canson Mi-Teintes in white. It comes in tons of different colors. That area needs to be a lot brighter, but we'll go ahead and leave that. Drink coffee. Okay, and as this dries, you can see this starts becoming more and more opaque. That color comes back. So don't be afraid when you add the paint thinner, like, oh my gosh, everything just got super dark. It's going to lighten back up once that dries. Let's see. Hey, oh, excuse me, had a question from Paige and then it jumped. Where were we? Paige said, gotta love that Derwent Nightshade. Nightshade is the new black. Yeah, it is amazing. I love that color so much. Let's see. Vitalani. Why can't I can't read it right. I'm sorry for butchering your name. I use Pro Color, which I love. I only draw as a hobby, so light fast is not super important. But if my drawings are kept in a closed sketchbook, will they fade over time? No, if they're not being exposed to light, then they should not fade. It's when the light fast, that rating comes into when exposed to light. So you should in theory be fine. Now, people have commented in different materials that they've used, not with the colored pencils necessarily specifically, but I've had people comment saying that they used the graphite tint, they used different things, and it faded even though it was not exposed to light. Well, then that's not a light fast issue. There's something else going on there. What that thing is, I don't know. It could be that their paper was not archival. Did they use tap water instead of distilled water, and the tap water had something in it that made it fade? Did they leave it in the hot trunk of their car? I don't know. Like, there's something else is going on that has nothing. If it's not exposed to any light, then it's not a light fast issue. So no, you should in theory be fine as long as, you know, the paper, or let's say the oils of your skin were touching all over. That alone could make it fade because the oils of your skin are not pH neutral. So that may be the thing that caused somebody's work to fade, but it wouldn't have been from the light. If it fades, it's not because of light, because it wasn't exposed to any. Julia said, hey Lisa, do you have any tips for improving composition and balance in artwork? If you are struggling with God, it is just coffee in my cup, I swear. But if you're struggling with composition, have you learned about the rule of thirds? That's kind of a good place to start. Make sure things line up in thirds. So if you separated your canvas into thirds, 3 going this way, 3 going this way, you have these hot spots. And those hot spots are typically where you want your subject to be. Like in this case, I'm not really, if I wanted to be rule of thirds, I'd be over here a bit more, but I'm not too worried about it on this. That would be one way to like kind of get your subject in one of those spots, but go read about the rule of thirds. I think that's a really, really good place to start if you are struggling with your composition. Let's see. Phil said, In your experience, is it possible to make a reasonable amount of money by selling prints? No. Prints is just one of many avenues to make money as an artist, but just prints alone, no. I've never made enough doing that. The only artist I know who was making a decent living doing that was also selling originals, and he was going to any like convention. He sells fish. His name, you can look him up. It's Sam Scales, Scales. I don't know, I just bought a t-shirt from him. But I met him at Aquashella. He was killing it in his prints. He was selling 8x10s, and man, that guy, he made a good profit. Way more than I did. I mean, he did good the way he had set that up with prints. But he has to travel, and he goes to tons and tons and tons of fish conventions where it's specifically people who are interested in fish. So he's hit his target market there, and the way the price point was exact, he knew what sold, this guy had that nailed. Now, right now, he is super struggling because there are no shows going on, and so he's really having a hard time getting like, how do you then turn that into profits, making it online, and that sort of thing is a struggle. So no, I would say prints alone in most cases are not. In this case, like Sam, he travels all around the country selling these prints at fish conventions. I know that sounds weird, fish convention, but like aquarium conventions, I think that's a better way to put it. And he does great when there are conventions, but right now, he's trying to figure out how to make ends meet make up for that, being that we don't have any conventions going on. So it is possible, but it's, in this case, like I said, it's not just selling prints online. With me, I could make maybe $50 a month, sometimes $70 a month on prints. I don't make a lot of money on prints. I don't market my prints, so that's something to keep in mind. You could potentially market yours better and get them in front of the right people and make a heck of a lot more than me. I just don't do any of that. I don't have time to do the lessons and that. But that's something that you potentially could do. But as far as like, I make a reasonable amount of profit. Reasonable, I think that's subjective. It depends on what your attitude is with reasonable. But like, could I make a living, like just sole off prints? I would have to stop doing everything else and to figure out a way to market just those prints. And Sam, I think, did an excellent job traveling around, but that's kind of hard right now. Iona said, can you describe how the Viva paper towels are? I'm not from the US, and we might have something similar under a different name. I just don't know what I'm looking for. They feel like fabric, like t-shirt material. They don't feel like regular paper towels. They're thicker, and they feel like a piece of fabric. I don't like them for like normal everyday cleaning. They're not my favorite. I would rather just use a towel, or like a hand towel, or Bounty, like I say normal paper towels. But if you don't have that, just grab an old t-shirt. Like when you don't want any more, it works just the same. That will be totally fine for you. I used to actually use an old tank top that was just ugly. It was kind of a peach color. it was worn out like crazy, but because it was a tank top, I couldn't, if it showed on camera, kind of looked like I was showing my underwear. And so that's why I just use paper towels. I stopped with that myself. I'm like, here's my dirty laundry, which is not what it was, but yeah. Let's see. I have OMS in a watercolor brush. It really helps me with being around my pups. Be careful though in the watercolor brush, because it's probably going to leak out of that. It's not going to stay in there as long. OMS likes to leak out of everything. So in a watercolor brush, that may end up being an issue for you. I love the concept. Like if it's not leaking, then great, but do keep an eye on that. Buzz Art Tutorial said, have you had good results using oil paints on watercolor canvas? Should I gesso it first? When I did the oil on a watercolor canvas, I did an underpainting of acrylics first. But I mean, it's already gessoed. It's worth giving it a try and seeing what happens. But I did do a watercolor, or if I'm remembering correctly, I did an acrylic underpainting before I did that. It's been many years since I'm trying to think. I don't even remember what project it was. I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure I did an acrylic underpainting. But no, you shouldn't need to gesso it, because it already has a coat on it. Oh, we have lots of questions. I'm just waiting to make sure this is dry all the way before we move on to our next layer. Let's see. Where did we jump to? Katrina said, will you ever consider coloring a picture with pencils only and show the way they should shade the picture? I'm not sure what you're asking. Will you ever consider coloring a picture with pencils only and showing the way we should shade the picture? I'm not sure what you're asking. I'm sorry. Barbara said, I am a beginner and learned very much from seeing your work on the same picture. Cool. Yeah, it really helps to see somebody else's work do. I learn well from watching somebody else, how they render that painting or drawing. Katrina said, I really like your channel. Thanks. What's your Patreon all about? I wouldn't mind joining that. That question, I did get that one. So with Patreon, every week I upload a new 1 to 2 hour, usually 1 to 2 hours, sometimes they're a little longer, tutorials. So it may be colored pencils, it may be acrylic, it may be airbrush, it might be oil painting, Inktense, watercolor pencils. I've got multiple mediums. There are currently, I want to say it's like 200 videos, right around 200, over 200 videos available. So when you sign up, let's say you sign up for the $4 a month, you get instant access to all those hundreds of tutorials and all those mediums. Plus every month you get a new, or not every month, every week you get another additional new tutorial on top of that. I also provide reference photos. This month's, for April's, were a little, I don't want to say underwhelming because I put a lot of work into those photos, but it was a bunch of greyhounds, which normally I try to mix up the subject, but with not being able to go to the zoo right now and get photos, I'm definitely limited on what I was able to provide. So part of me apologizes, but part of me is like, but I put a lot of work into those photos. They are good photos. They would be excellent for pet portrait artists to promote their portfolio, or just to make prints of greyhound stuff, because that stuff sells. But normally they're a bigger selection of wildlife is what I typically like to do. Sometimes I do different floral stuff, which we'll probably get into next month because I doubt zoos are opening. But that is what it is. That's what you get. Depending on which tier you sign up for the $4 a month, you get that. For $9 a month, you also get a postcard sent to you. I say every month, but sometimes it'll be like 3 months and then you get the three previous months all at once, like what's about to happen when the stamps get here, because I'm 3 months behind. So you guys are all going to get those of you waiting for them will get the 3 months of postcards all at once. I really need to get those out every month. I'm really bad at time management, apparently. So you do get one eventually for whatever month you were signed up for, with my art on the one side and then like a motivational quote on the back. And you also get an additional 5 reference photos and access to our monthly group challenges. So that's what that is. If you go over to, and the link is in the description, it's lachri.com/ I want to say it's videos-Patreon. I don't know, if you just go to lachri.com on the front page, you scroll down a little and it's like, here's my Patreon library. Click on that and that will show you all of the tutorials. So it'll give you an idea if that's something that's going to be a fit for you. Javier said, what is your favorite colored pencil paper? I'm really liking the Canson Mi-Teintes. I would say that, excuse me, and Arches are my 2 favorites. Those are typically my go-to. Fabriano Artistico Extra White Hot Press 140-pound watercolor paper. I like that. I liked it better before they changed it. It's okay. I'll still use it, but I probably won't buy more. I like Arches Hot Press watercolor paper better. The new way that the new... I'm not a huge fan. It's okay. It's usable. I'm not like going to throw it away or anything, but I probably won't be purchasing more of that. We've got a bunch of questions that scrolled. 1 second. Sydney said, do you recommend taking any business classes in order to know how to sell your art? What types of classes do you recommend? So if you're going to go to college, and honestly, these are things you can learn online for free. So I don't even know that you need to do that in college. But yeah, business and marketing are hugely helpful. And that's usually where you will have absolutely phenomenal artists that cannot make a living. And it's usually because they're bad at the business and marketing side. They want to sit and paint and draw all day, which don't we all, but they're not doing the business and marketing side. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and take my purple. This is the Derwent Light Glass. I'm going to go over some of these dark areas while we chat. But yeah, the business and marketing is what you really, really need to focus on, that a lot of artists need to focus on and start spending more time on. And there are so many resources online for free, business and marketing blogs. And social media changes constantly. So let's say you went to school for that. I need something even darker. Let's go with the Nightshade, if I can find it. Where'd you go, Nightshade? Did I not pull you out? No, I pulled out the wrong one. That is Deep Violet. That's not what I want. There we go. There you are, Nightshade. But that your marketing stuff for social media, because social media's rules change constantly, like actual rules, like Facebook's terms of service, they change constantly. So you're gonna have to keep up with that anyway. I don't know that you need school for that. I don't recommend artists go in debt at all for their art business. there are online marketing that you can pay for, like Tim Schmoyer, video creators, and this would be more for YouTubers, but he has videos that are not very expensive, like $40 or $30, and they're these amazing courses, way cheaper than college. So I think for most artists, something like that is going to be a better fit than going to like taking actual classes in most cases, because you're going to have to be, continuous education, I guess, when it comes to business and marketing, because that landscape changes constantly. But if you are going to go to college or go take courses, absolutely, that would be something I would recommend. Let's see. Sergi said, so I gave up on the tulip figures, grabbed a piece of Fabriano, and going for a graphite portrait. Sorry. Let's see. Art and Diamonds with Esky says, I keep the watercolor brush upside down in a jar. Yeah, now that's the way to do it. That makes sense. I saw a video where someone bought an empty, never used Copic sketch marker and put OMS in it. She said it works well. Yeah, I mean, in theory it would. It just, my concern is that OMS just likes to leak. Your way seems to be the better way. And the other thing with the markers, so Prismacolor makes a marker, a blending marker. I'm not a fan. One, it was like $5, $6, something like that. I want to say $5. That was years ago, many years ago. That was, this is Nightshade, by the way, so we're getting these darks in. But that worked well-ish, but I like the brush better because the brush gives me control on how much pressure I'm adding to the brush. When you're working with markers, like, you've got one pressure. That is it. There's no altering that. And so I don't have as much control with a marker as I would with a brush. So I definitely prefer a brush over that. But the other thing, it just didn't last very long. It seemed like it was very, very expensive for how little use I got before it dried up when I did the marker one, the Prismacolor blending marker. It worked okay though, while it did work before it dried up. But like I said, I didn't, that was before I started using OMS, and I didn't realize how much more control I'd have with a brush and OMS. That is hands down my preferred method. So you've got a little bit of a shadow here. See how I'm curving that pencil around the direction that the tulip goes. So if brush strokes show or pencil strokes show, they're going in the right direction. It just looks like extra detail, even though it was really just me being lazy. Now it would probably be better with a reddish color, so we'll grab, this one is deep rose. And I'm just looking at where are my lights, where are my darks. There should be a coral pencil from Luminance. We'll use that one here, just in that corner. I'm gonna put pink on top of it. That's a bit too orangey. I do think I want that though out on the edge more. I'm pushing pretty hard on that edge to keep it nice and clean. And I'm gonna move into pink over that as we come into the flower. And I need a nice bright magenta. We'll use, this one is the purplish red from Carandash. Again, you don't have to have the same color as me. If you see something like, oh, it's magenta, grab a pencil that looks magenta. It's not a big deal. I'm reading out the colors just for those who want it, but most people aren't gonna have the same set of pencils as me, so that's not super helpful. Let's see. Juanita said, I can't remember who you said you used to print your prints. So for postcards, I use Vistaprint currently. And for Giclées, I use Giclée Today. Took me a minute to remember the name. I've been really happy with the quality I've gotten from Giclée Today. And then, if I'm not doing Giclées, like if I'm not, like those would be more if I'm going to an art show and bringing stuff with me. But if I'm doing, like just online, I like Fine Art America, although I'm a little bit annoyed with Fine Art America. I can't get into my account. I wanted to upload a few new prints. I'm way behind on that, can't get in. For some reason, my password isn't working, and I'm still getting paid. So when people are buying things, it's still coming to me. I don't think anyone hacked the account, but their system to reset the password isn't working. And I keep doing email me the thing. I'm not getting any emails. I've checked my spam. This has been going on for weeks, and I cannot get it to work. So I contacted them. They've not contacted me back. Now, to be fair, maybe they're not getting a hold of people right now, or, you know, we've got the whole, everyone's quarantined, who knows what's going on, but I have not been able to get into that account. I've been trying for 2 or 3 weeks now, and it's really, every time I think about it, it makes me a little annoyed. So I'm getting less and less impressed with them, where I'm going to have to see if there's a number or something to call, because I just can't get into the account. And I'm sure it's probably some super easy thing for them to fix, but they're not responding to me. I messaged them on Facebook. I messaged them through their like support ticket. No one ever got back to me. So I'm not currently all that impressed with that. And those, the quality of those, it's more like a merch thing. It's not going to be near the quality you get from a giclée, but it's also going to be a lot cheaper. Where did that scarlet go? Actually, this one's crimson. Let's go with that. Yeah, that gives me a nice color standing out here. Do I have a lighter red? Let's see. Oh. That's not going to do it. Yes, there we go. This one is scarlet. That is what I'm looking for. So this should show up a little bit better. Yeah, that is what I needed for this transition. It's kind of a little bit of an orange red to it, but it really stands out nicely. Something just beeped at me. Got a decent amount here. So as I start getting further and further into the piece, I am adding more and more pressure, where I know I'm not going to need that many more layers on top. I can start adding pressure and letting that pencil do some of the blending for me. Not a ton. I'm not pushing super hard, but it is a little bit harder than what I started with. Okay, I want to start lightening up. Some of these are really dark. Now let's just use white then, and I'll go back over it with pink, because these are definitely too dark. Pull that white in. One of the things that I really like, and I did an art piece like this for, gosh, it was probably, I want to say like 10 years ago, for my old band. Maybe it was that long ago. Wow, I feel old all of a sudden. But I had done where I used a white colored pencil and made it look like chalk on a chalkboard, and left that roughness. And I photoshopped that. I took photos of the band, traced us with that, and did a little bit of shading with the white so it looked like it was in chalk, and then let it fade out into the photo in Photoshop so that it looked really neat. It was a very cool effect. I really like that with the black paper. There's certain effects you can get on this to get that chalkboard type look. Really, really cool. One of these days I'll find that photo and post it on social media. Now be careful, like the lines I have here, these just look like lines. Make sure that starts to fade out. Don't leave them quite how I had them there. I want to lighten the one in the back a bit. Throw some white over that. Oh, it is getting windy out there. I hope the crepe myrtles live through it. They're not really rooted yet. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and blend this. Let's see. This is going to jump as soon as I try scrolling down. Oh, it didn't. Katrina said, one day can you do the tutorial on how we should shade a certain picture? I guess I'm looking for help with my light source and where the shading should be. Well, I mean, I kind of cover that in all of my lessons on Patreon. It's just looking at your reference photo is what that comes down to. Get a reference photo that has the lighting that you want is how I teach. I'm personally not one who is good, and that's something that I need to work on, at just taking a photo and making up my own interesting lighting on it. I've got to have a good photo with good lighting, and then I can copy what I see there. But I'm still kind of not totally sure what you're looking for there, because my general teaching would have where we talk about the shading and lighting, but that's, I mean, really just a matter of teaching yourself to look at your photo and pay attention where are your lights, where are your darks, and copying that. I'm not sure how helpful that is to you. Hopefully that makes sense. But we're just always looking at that photo and looking at our values. Where are our lights, where are our darks? And adding that to our work. That scrolled way far again. No one's surprised. Here we go. Tracy said, have you tried the Finesse colored pencil blenders? Looks like a double end felt tip. No, I've not. But again, anything that's going to be a blender on a marker, I'm not going to get the same results that I'm going to get with or have the same control that I get with a paintbrush and OMS. So while I think that those would be handy if you were going out somewhere and drawing. Obviously, bringing your odorless mineral spirits with you is not convenient. So I think that would be a good alternative in that case, any of the blending markers. But overall, if given the choice, I'm definitely hands down want to blend with a paintbrush. Bitlani, that I'm pronouncing wrong again, says, thanks for using OMS today. I learned about you in your gorgeous draft drawing, bought some, and then was too scared to use it. This gave me the push I needed. Not so scary after all. Oh no, it's really easy. I read about it in a book, using OMS to blend, and so I did a little test. Oh my gosh, it was like one of those times in my art career that like just made such a difference, because I'd gotten to the point where I had been blending everything by burnishing, meaning pushing hard to get everything to blend. Well, you limit how many layers you can get, so that's a bit of an issue. But for me, the biggest issue was my arthritis in my hand. I'm right-handed. In my right hand, the arthritis is worse, and oh my gosh, the pain. And so I had gotten to a point where I really couldn't work in colored pencil much anymore because of the pain. But this just opened that up for me. So now I can blend without adding the pressure. It's really nice and really easy. Carla said, hey Lisa, I'm using Strathmore Mixed Media tan paper and polychromos. Never tried this before. When I used the OMS, it sat on the paper and it didn't blend. Yikes. You probably, I'm guessing you didn't have enough colored pencil on it. You want to get a lot of pigment on the paper, multiple, like say, I would say 3 to 5 layers of pencil, and it can be 3 to 5 layers of the same pencil. So you cover it, then go back over it, then go back over it, at least 3 times, 3 to 5 times, and then blend with your OMS. You have to have, if there's not enough pigment on the paper, the OMS is just going to sit there. It won't blend. It has nothing to work with. So you want a good amount of pigment on there. Now, as far as if the oil stain, you mean, if you put like a mark and it just sat there and didn't dry and kept with it, that just happens with some paper. That's where you want to be careful. Like in this case, I don't want to get the OMS outside of the tulip because it might leave an oil stain that won't blend out. Let's see. Can't believe that I actually caught a live stream. Now is my chance. Have you seen anything particularly popular amongst artists as a subject matter? Seeing a lot of octopuses lately. I think it goes in phases, but you'll go in waves where everyone really likes surrealism, then everyone really likes, it may also have to do with like if a popular artist, let's say Heather Rooney, who's very well known, if she did a certain portrait, I think you're going to have a lot of people who want to do that same celebrity, because that's mostly at least what I had seen before. I haven't seen her in forever, but if she's still doing stuff, usually it was with celebrities. So a lot of artists would come in and want to do celebrities too. So you do have that. I do think there is some influence with YouTubers or anyone who's like big on social media. Someone sees what they do and they want to do the same thing. So that could definitely be. But I don't know that if there's like, besides that, I can see where, well, with me, I do it too. Like I saw the cover of an art supply product. Was it the graphite tint used to have a seahorse on it? That made me want to draw a seahorse. So, I think it's common for us to be influenced by stuff we see. So the stuff that gets seen the most, which quite often is YouTubers or Instagrammers, other people are going to draw more of that. So that might be what's happening there. Where were we? Bala said, what's the best way to package an unframed canvas panel for shipment? 11 by 14. Any suggestions on where I should get sturdy boxes for shipping? Unframed canvas panel. So with that cardboard. So I wrap it in glassine so that the cardboard's not actually touching the artwork, and then cardboard, and on both sides, and then more cardboard, and more cardboard. Make sure if you try to bend it that it can't be bent. You want to consider every worst case scenario that the shipper is going to do to it is going to happen. They're going to step on it. They're going to throw it across the room. They will put other heavy, like use it as a tabletop. I mean, everything bad that could possibly happen to it, you need to be prepared for that. And if your boxing can't handle it, you didn't box it well enough. More cardboard then. So I usually make my own. I get a big box and just kind of cut it into the shape of the canvas I want after a bunch of cardboards on the edges of it. But you want to make sure that it can stand up through that sort of abuse. Katrina said, yes, you helped me. Thank you. Thanks. Good. I'm glad. I'm never sure if I'm just rambling and it's not helpful. Sydney says, what is the powder that you use to blend colored pencil? The powder is Powder Blender. It's from, that was not the right one. Here we go. It's from brushandpencil.com, although you can also, I think I just hit the camera. It's still, no, we're good. You can get it from brushandpencil.com or Dick Blick. It's, let's see, Jackson Art Supply in the UK. Delta Art in Canada. I forget who has it in Australia, but it is available all over the place. But it's the brush and pencil products that I use, and it has to be used on sanded paper. It's not just that one item. There's a set of items that are used together that you would go with. If you go to Brush and Pencil's website, they'll give you more information, or if you look up on YouTube, Lachri and Intro to Powder Blender, there's a video I did, I believe it was a butterfly on a flower, that walks you through step-by-step understanding those products. So that would be a good one to watch. Whoop, that scrolled. Okay. Just a reminder, if you did not highlight your question, because I see somebody yelling about please answer the question, I didn't see your question, so I can't help you there. If you have a question for me, make sure you do the @Lachri Fine Art. If it does not highlight in orange, I just don't see it, so I apologize. And I talk with coffee in my mouth. Okay. So now I'm at a stage where really what I'm going to focus on are just my values. I've got everything basically blocked in. Let's make sure my darks are as dark as I want them to be. My lights are as light. I'm going to go back over it with this bright magenta. See, now I'm getting to a point though where I damaged the tooth of the paper a bit, and I have multiple layers of pencil, so it's not sticking as well as it did initially. Got some red. I'm just going to kind of skip around and look at different areas of the piece and go, okay, I want that one. I want this to be, see, I do mistakes. We all do mistakes all the time. Just go over it. Don't worry about it. You didn't ruin anything. But I'm looking at it going, what do I need lighter? What do I need darker? And I'm going to jump around and try to make those alterations on mine. What I need to adjust on mine may not be the same as what you need to adjust on yours, depending on what your values are at this stage on your piece. I need a reddish tone over that. So I'll let those mix when I blend. And if you decided that you think it would look better on yours to be lighter or darker than what your reference photo is, that is fine too. Don't feel like you need to copy it exactly. I'm gonna go ahead and actually blend out. Now, I did not dip this in more odorless mineral spirits. I'm at a stage where I've got enough pigment on the paper that if I start adding more OMS, I'm going to start lifting. If I've got too much OMS on this, I'm gonna start lifting color off instead of blending. So I'm just using what was left on the brush from the last time I blended out. It's still damp enough that that will work. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna go ahead and block in the hint of the stem. Let's see what I've got here. I'm going to use kind of a yellowy lime green just to make it extra bright. You know, that's not really what would be correct. And maybe an olive green. Okay, so I've got 3 different greens that I'm going to use here, and I'm going to play around with until I get the color that I want. Now, if you look at the reference photo, there's a line of the main stem, and then it looks like a stem behind it that's green that's not necessarily a part of this artwork. I'm going to erase that because I don't really need that line on there. If it doesn't erase all the way, I'll just work it into it. Yeah, left a little bit of a smudge, but let's go over. This actually works really well. This is the Luminance Olive Brown. That one's a good one. I do want a little bit of a brighter lime green though on mine, so it really stands out. Don't go too crazy with that. And maybe a little bit of that Kelly green, which is listed as grass green for the back end. And I'm going to go over it with Nightshade if I can find it for the shadow on the outer edge. Let that blend in. I'm going to pull that olive green up a bit higher, and then I'm going to go over that with a little bit of white. I'm not going to push too hard. I just want to lighten that a bit. Okay, now I'm going to blend that with the odorless mineral spirits. The point here, I don't really care if the highlight's in the exact right spot. I just want to make sure I've got variation between my light and my dark. I don't care if the color's exact. It doesn't really matter to me. I will go over that. That is a bit of a muddy brown, but just kind of block it in. I think you want to get in your head too as an artist. Things don't have to be perfect. They don't have, that reference photo is a guideline. It is not everything has to be exact. Unless you're doing portraits, that's different. We're going to be more precise then. But for something like this, don't worry about things being perfect. It can still be pretty even though it's not exactly the same. Let's see. And while that dries, let me answer a couple of questions. We need to let that sit so I can come back through and start cleaning up some of these edges. Let's see, where were we? Hi, Shiny. Let's see, thoughts on oil pastels. Do you have any tutorials for it? No, I don't. I've not used oil pastels in probably 10 or 15 years. It has been a long, long time. With those, they work well to blend with OMS as well. The thing I don't like about oil pastels is they never really dry. They always can smudge so easily, and I don't want to ruin my stuff. So I don't really work in them myself anymore. I used to when I was a lot younger, but I haven't touched them in years. They can make beautiful work. They're just not currently my choice. Now, that may change. There may come a day where I'm like, wow, these are super fun. I need to do this more. But right now, they don't really interest me. Sergio said, Wade seems to be oddly normal back there. Yeah. Oh, what? Is he about to turn over? Nope. He didn't turn over. He looked like he might. Give him a bit. Iona said, okay, I know this is not art related, but as a fellow Warcraft player, I'm dying to know, Horde or Alliance? Absolutely Horde, although I've been playing an Alliance Void Elf Warlock just because I needed the B mount. So she's been the main one I've been questing or like just grinding rep and stuff on. But yeah, I normally Horde Holy Priest is my main. How about you? See, I always tell people, well, I'm an adult, so obviously Horde. Carla says, do you know what the rules on a copyright picture from a portrait of a famous actress that is no longer with us, like Judy Garland, for example? It depends. So I don't know with Judy Garland, but I know with like Lucille Ball, her family owns the copyright now. It transfers, depending on the time frame there. So normally the photographer, well, in that case, back then it was different because the studio held copyright of everything. They basically owned their actors and actresses. So that was going to be a bit different. I don't know if it's safe or not yet. I would assume not. If it's within the last 100 years, you can pretty much assume you probably can't touch it. Or maybe it's 70. I forget what the amount of years are, but some of those, sometimes they will refresh depending on certain circumstances. They're able to like refresh that copyright depending on who owned it. So, as fan art, you may or may not be okay, but like Lucille Ball's family gets up on people about that. So it depends on who owns that copyright now and if it was renewed. Jackie Ann said, do you feel as an artist that your personality helps you sell your art? Absolutely. You want to sell, people are buying you as much as your art. And I'll always get someone going, no, that's not how it is. Yes, it is. It may not be for you. You're an oddball. For everyone else, for most people, they are buying the artist as much as the art. There are a million people who do the same art as me, or a million people, like take any artist who you like their art. There are many other people who do nearly the same thing or close enough. So what is going to make you choose? Let's say there's 5 artists doing surreal octopus paintings. There's a specific artist, I can't think of his name, but I love his work. Let's say you've got 5 different artists doing something different. What's going to make me buy his versus one of the other 4 other artists? I like his personality. I like his posts on Instagram. I like how he talks. I like, that is what's going to make the difference. Absolutely, to a lot of buyers, they want to know the artist as much as the art. So it's both. You've got to have both. Yes. So yes, it does absolutely help. And you have too many people who will do, well, I'm not good on camera. I don't want to have my photo taken. I don't want people. I'm very private. I'm very personal. Okay, you get to be that way. You can absolutely make that choice. You're going to have a whole lot, you're going to have a much harder time marketing your work and making yourself stand out from anybody else. Your personality is what makes you different from everybody else. That combined with hopefully your artwork also is somewhat different. But like I said, there's always going to be someone out there who has something, is doing something similar to what you're doing. So if you can combine that artwork being hopefully somewhat unique with your unique personality, even if you think it's a crappy personality, because I've heard people say that my crap personality is crap. Well, with that attitude, I'm going to go with, yeah, probably is. Like, stop telling yourself your personality is crap. That's weird. But yes, it makes a difference. Show yourself. Let people get to know you. It will help you in selling your work. On the flip side, I've seen people go too far the other direction where they made it harder to sell their work because they were showing the crap side of it. Like, they would only kept posting political stuff. Unless you're a political artist, your politics don't need to be in your art. I'm sorry, I just don't think that they do. I don't care who you're voting for. Take it to the voting booth, whatever we call them. Like, I don't need you to lecture me on your beliefs. That makes me like you less. Even if I agree with your politics, it probably makes me like you less. Like, that's not what I follow an artist for. I follow you because of your technique or your vision or whatever. Now, again, that's different when you get into political art. But there are exceptions to everything. But I have seen where people just behaved so badly, like talking crap about clients. I've seen this where people were not questioning, like, is this okay? Is this normal? Someone was mean to me, but like, just, this person's a horrible human. I can't believe they did this. I can't believe they did that. You know, really, really kept harping on it. There's a couple of artists that are just, every post they do is so negative. Everything is so negative. We're not talking about a one-off here and there. We're talking about everything is so negative that I'm like, you make me kind of uncomfortable. Like, I want to feel happy. You're not providing that for me. I'm going to go find somebody, an artist whose work and whose posts are. So your personality can also hurt. And I don't even think that's an issue of personality. It's almost an issue in the cases I'm thinking of self-control, of like, everything that crosses your mind does not need to be posted publicly. So that's, I guess it can hurt and help. But ideally, if used right, let your personality should help you to sell work. Let's see. And we're not done. If you're just tuning in, we've got more details we're going to work on. I'm just letting that dry. It's probably dry enough, but I'm going to get caught up on a few questions before we move on. Bruce says, hi there from Austria. I just found your channel and love it since I started colored pencil work myself, including a channel. Nice. Thank you for your work. Thank you. And congratulations on the channel. Good decision. Let's see. Austin said, quick question about odorless mineral spirits. One time I put some into a glass sealed tight jar and checked back a couple of days later and it turned a bit yellowish. Is this fine? Something had to have made it do that. Like, mine is, I don't know if you can see on there. It is, well, it's up against black. You're not gonna be able to see anything. But mine's dirty because I keep dipping a brush that has colored pencil. Like, when you blend, you're picking up colored pencil. It does get on the brush. And then when I put it in the paint thinner is a cleaner. It's a brush cleaner. So it's cleaning that off. And so some of that residue will stay in the paint thinner and it's completely fine. So that's probably what's happening there. And it won't affect the work at all. Oh, we've got lots of questions. Where were we? Oh, thank you, Carla. Carla did a super chat. Thanks for being you. Thank you. And it's even a little teal guy. So you know me and teal. That is so sweet. Oh, I swear, every time someone does it, I'm like, don't cry, calm down. I'm like, that's such a nice, like, when people give me gifts, I get all excited and gooey and, okay, thank you. No, don't make me cry. Let's see. Nova said, I've been looking for a good detail paintbrush for acrylic painting on canvas. Any suggestions? So for details, like fine details, I like a synthetic hog-haired liner brush. Something with, do I have any over here? I should, because I'm going to need one. This will work. This one is a generic from Hobby Lobby. This one's a number 2. Number 1 or a number 2 should work fine. But see how it's got long bristles? This is what we want to look for. We tend to look for, like, when you get started, you might think like little teeny tiny bristles sticking out. That's going to give me the finest detail. Yeah, once. And then the paint's going to ruin it because the paint naturally is going to get up here near the handle. We don't want it there. We want to keep the paint up here so that this stays nice. When paint builds up here, what happens, the bristles that you want close together start doing this, and now you can't get details. So you want a nice long brush, and then the other thing, when it's nice and long, you're able to get one nice long brush stroke out of it that with a little brush, you have to keep stop, reload, stop, reload, stop, reload. Now you've got this fluffy looking edge. So long, thin liner brush. If you can't find a synthetic hog here, I'm trying to find one online. I've not found an alternative to the Masters. This is the generic from Hobby Lobby. I've not found a good alternative to this specific brush. If not this, then a Taklon bristled liner. Same thing, longer bristles like that is going to work for you. Let's see, Gail said, do you ever find that the OMS on your brush transfers a color from one area to another where you wouldn't want it to? Yes, absolutely. And so what I do when I load my brush, I've got my paper towel here, and before I work, so let's say I'm working here, and I know I don't want that color over here, I'm gonna rinse it in my paint thinner, I'm gonna dab it on my paper towel, make sure that that's coming out clean, and then go on to the other area. You do have to make sure that you're not smudging one area into another because it will transfer it. Especially if you were like, let's say you were blending a black area, and then you went to blend into a yellow area, that black will make a muddy, horrible mess that's gonna be a pain for you to try to hide. So yeah, be careful with that. Good question. Let's see. Next we have Sebastian. I have two questions. Which brand of oil color do you use? And what pencil case do you recommend for pencils like Derwent Inktense 72 or Polychromos? If you bought the metal 10. Okay, so for oil color, do you mean oil paint or oil colored pencils? Because that's going to be different. With oil paint, I'm not using the best oil paint, honestly. It's light fast, it's archival. There are better options. I use a very budget-friendly one. I'm using the Winsor. I used to use the Winsor Winton colors. Not a huge fan of those. They are, I mean, they work. I always got the light fast ones, but they're very thick and chunky. They're a little bit, you have to thin them out quite a bit to get them to flow nicely. But now I use mostly, when I've replaced them, I get the Winsor and Newton Winton colors. And the reason that I'm using the Winsor and Newton, it's just easy to get at the art supply store. There are better alternatives out there. Is it Old Holland or what? That one I think was one that I used recently. Williamsburg I think was one. That one was wonderful. So there are other brands out there. I don't want to pretend like Winsor and Newton's the best. They're fine. They're light fast. They work for me. But I do know that there are better, way more expensive paints out there. These ones are just, they're budget friendly and they're archival. So I'm like, yeah, they'll work for me. And for if you're talking about oil-based colored pencils, the Prismacolor, or I'm sorry, no, not Prismacolor. The Polychromos are my oil-based pencils, and then we've got the Derwent Light Fast I really like. They list them as an oil-based pencil, but they feel to me in practice more in between a wax and an oil-based, which is great. I love them, but those are my two favorite colored pencils right now. Let's see, and for storing them. So what I store my pencils in, they are a 4-drawer, let me move this so I can show you guys. It's a 3-drawer, sorry, pastel box. So just look up 3-drawer pastel box, and it holds the pencils, I don't know if you're gonna see, in there like that, and it organizes them. I can have it organized really nice. So this is not going to be suitable for travel, but for home, they're great. For travel, I used to get ones, just your normal pencil cases. Was it Global or something like that was the one that I used to buy. I want to say it was Global or something Global. Artsy said, can you do a beginner art haul, please? You know, I did that. I did one, like just on a budget type video. I did the one with the Polychromos, getting started with colored pencil. I do have a video that goes over the very basics you need, just using a 12 set of pencils and then plus one white opaque pencil. But I do have that. I need to do more though. Let me know what medium you'd like to see one for. Leslie said, is there a way to fill in the shadows and highlights like I would in a grayscale drawing and then go over it with colored pencil similar to glazing in paint? Sort of. It works better with the water-soluble graphite because regular graphite, it's too, the pencil doesn't stick real well to it. Depending on how many layers you have, it just doesn't stick that well. But if you do it with water-soluble graphite, that actually does work very well. I need to do another video combining those because it works. Iona said, yes, for the Horde. I play an Orc Hunter for the Classic servers. You know, I never got into Classic because my big thing was collecting pets and mounts, and I am not starting over with that. Like, that's all I do now is collect. Like, I don't raid anymore. I don't do any of that stuff. So, gosh, I don't even run dungeons anymore. So, yeah, I'm not giving those up for... I am not one who reminisces about, because I played the Horde Classic or WoW Classic, the vanilla WoW, when it was current content. I don't miss it. So I'm like, I already played it, so I'm good. Let's see. Sarah said, what do you think about using markers as an underlay for colored pencils? I'm not fond of the smell of solvent and burnishing hurts my hand. You can. The problem is the only markers that are light fast are going to be your Winsor & Newton pigment markers. Getting that to blend without using Yupo paper. Yupo paper is the only one I really like to work on with the Winsor & Newton pigment markers to get it to blend. But then colored pencil doesn't want to stick on it very well. But like Copics, some people will use Copics. It's cool for a piece, but it's not archival. Those markers are not light fast. So if you're going to sell your work, no, don't do it. That's not going to be a good alternative. And instead, you might want to look at watercolor pencils or something like that that it has a good light fast rating when water is added. That would probably be a better alternative for you. You're welcome, Carla. Let's see. Artsy said, can you try a draw paint with only Crayola or Dollar Tree art supplies? No, because I'm a professional artist. I'm not a child. I mean, those are, yeah, you can make a decent painting with crap supplies, but my whole point, I'm a professional artist and I want to help other people, you know, perfect their work, and that includes professional supplies. I really am not one to... It doesn't interest me. Like, why would I'm just having a hard time as a professional artist going, why would I waste my time with supplies that I know are not light fast and not going to give me good results that I can then sell? I guess it would give me video views, but yeah, I'm probably not going to do that. Because they don't, yes, I can make something pretty, but it's not the same as what I can make with quality supplies. So you have a lot of, and I don't know, not saying this is where you're going with that, but a lot of people will be like, well, I can't afford the professional ones, so show me what I can do with the cheap ones. I would rather see someone use a 12-pack of professional materials, which are not that expensive, like a 12-pack of polychromos. Great colors in there. I've done a video showing how you can do on a budget with very, very little. You can get professional supplies, professional quality, and learn with a medium that is going to behave in a way that you want it to behave. Whereas Crayola, they're not pigmented. They fade in like 5 minutes. Maybe not exactly. I'm over exaggerating, but I would rather see somebody use high quality materials because you're going to learn more from that and have fewer pencils than 150 of crap. So that's my attitude on those. Let's see. Hi, Paulo. Artsy said, what medium would you recommend for beginners? Usually graphite. Like if you're just really beginning, I love graphite because it's easy to blend and you really learn your values. Or charcoal works too, but learning your lights and darks, learning how to render something with values versus just depending on color. Then when you go into color, it'll be much easier because you've got a good grasp of those values. So I really like graphite for beginners. Or even if you're interested in acrylic painting, that you can do too. But do it in black and white first. Learn your values that way. I think it makes it easier once you start in with color. But graphite is a big one that I've started students on. Jessica said, I feel a bit disheartened that many friends who only just doodle while in isolation are now selling their work. Meanwhile, I have sold 3 acrylic paintings in 5 years. You know, it happens. And I think one of the things that you thank you, Artsies. Artsies gave a super chat. You know, here I go. I'm going to cry again. Don't do it, Lisa. Let's see. Where were we? I skipped. Where was I? Talking about people who sell their work. Yeah, I mean, I get where it can be disheartening when you've been working on it so long and someone who's new is suddenly doing better. But I think the question would be, figure out why. There's something there that you can learn from. What is it that is selling more? Is it that they already have a bigger following for some other reason? That may be the reason. You've got to figure out what the reason is. Whenever you feel, here I'm using the nightshade again for the shading. Whenever you feel frustrated, you're like, somebody else is being more successful than me. Don't be frustrated, really stick on the frustration or jealousy. Figure out why. And then adjust yourself to fit that. Are they posting more often than you? Are they painting and drawing subjects and I don't think you should change your subject matter to get views or followers, but sometimes that may be the reason. It may be something that is just popular. Maybe they're selling something like, let's say they are in an Italian Greyhound group and they're doing Italian Greyhounds. You don't draw Italian Greyhounds. You draw fish or landscapes or whatever. And all of a sudden the people in the Italian Greyhound groups are buying those then there you go. You've got, they hit their target market, and that may be what you're lacking. Maybe you are not accessing your target market. You have to figure out who that is and how to get your work in front of the right people. It may be that. So the key whenever that something like that happens is for you to figure out, why are they suddenly selling more? Are they using different platforms? Are they using eBay and you're only using Etsy, or the other way around? What is it that they're doing differently from you? Figure that out, and then you can kind of figure out how to solve the problem for yourself. You like learn from what they're doing. They're doing something right then. What is it? Or is it just their friends and family feel sorry for them and they're like, here, we want to help you pay your bills right now. I'll take a drawing. That may be the case too. You get sympathy purchases, I guess, can occasionally happen. So is that what it is? Figure out what that is, and then you can learn from that. Hi, Bruce. Allura said, I agree that politics should stay out of art. Art and propaganda does not have to go together. Yeah, I'm not a fan of, I mean, I see enough politics. I follow people that I keep up to date on news, and I know what's going on. And those are the people I want to hear from, not an artist. I want to hear from people who are, are experts or whatever in what they're talking about, and get a better feel of all the things. I don't need it from an actor. I don't need it from an artist. I mean, everyone has the right to say what they want, but I'm probably not going to follow you if you do. So I don't like when people push that on people. George said, I just bought some black paper for a future portrait that is very dark. Any ideas for flesh tones on black paper? Try your opaque pencils. You can see they show up. You're going to use the same colors, really, but you're going to have to layer a little bit more and start with your lights. I like to start with my lights in that case and then build up my darks. I find that to be an easier way to control it. Now I need to start getting my pencils a bit sharper for these details. Art and Diamonds with Esky said, what is the appropriate percentage of the touch-up texture to titanium white powder needed? I don't know. I just kind of mix them until it's a thicker, like about the same consistency if I were going to be doing a liner brush with acrylic paint is what I'm going for. So I'm trying to think. You know those little like apple barrel, I think? I don't know, the little cheap, I don't recommend them for painting on canvas, but the cheap like craft paints, they come in a bottle. That type of consistency is what I'm looking for. I'm not sure what percentage there is though. I mean, we're talking about two different, one's in a powder form, one's in a liquid, so it's kind of hard for me to think of the percentages there. Sergi said, we're still waiting for that self-portrait. Yeah, I still need to figure out what I want to do on that. Artsy said, what medium would you recommend for beginner? Okay, got that one. Juan said, do you have any real-time colored pencil tutorials? I do on Patreon, and then whatever live streams I have, other, the live stream stuff. Let's see. What is the best way to clean the brush after using that mixture? Water. Touch-up texture and titanium white. You just need white water on to clean that. But make sure, dry that all the way before you reload. You don't want to mix water in with your mixture. Some people will think, well, I need the mixture starts to dry fast when you're using touch-up texture titanium white. And so some people will think I'll add water like I would with acrylic to keep it wet longer. Don't do it with that. It won't be archival anymore, but you can clean your brush with water. Stacy said, I know you're using sanded paper for the powder blender a lot. What other papers can be used? For a powder blender, it's either sanded paper or paper that you've personally gessoed, like you took your watercolor paper, you airbrushed a couple coats of gesso, that'll work. But sanded paper is really the best. Bruce said, I'm doing a landscape game fan art with 12 polychromos. It actually works better than I thought. Yeah, it works really well. Like, you can mix so much with 12 pencils. And honestly, when you mix that way, you end up with more depth. It's really cool. Let's see. Oh, good. We're caught up on questions. So I'll have to come through with some details. I'm going to switch for the detail with a white. I'm going to switch to either my luminance white. We'll see what the Derwent Lightfast white, how well that shows up. These back here are way too light. I'm going to take another pink and just kind of tone, actually that's too bright. Just tone these down. I'm going to blend right over the light and dark. So I'm burnishing at this point, but I get this nice blended area. Okay, let's see how bright the Derwent light is. I haven't really played with that too much on black paper. Do I have that pulled out yet? No, I don't. Is that not the right one? That is not the right one. Okay, so let's see. Oh, that works pretty well for getting the white highlights on that edge. And I'm burnishing, I'm pushing pretty hard for this, but it's not going to be as, it shouldn't, in theory, be as opaque as a white luminance. So let's try that. Do I have any that are not like all worn down? Which one is this? That is not white. There we go. Gibson's on his back now with his legs in the air and his teeth. His head's upside down and his teeth are showing. It's actually kind of terrifying. Now, see how sharp I got this pencil? That is too sharp. That tip is going to break as soon as I apply pressure because this is a wax-based pencil, which means they're going to be more prone to breaking. That's part of the pencil. So I should not have sharpened it that much, and you're going to hear that snap if I start pushing much pressure. Yeah, this is definitely more opaque, so this is going to be a better fit for what I'm doing here. Now, I'm not going to have to blend all of these out. I want to start getting some of these tulip lines that I'm going to leave in now. So I'm just going to layer and layer and layer so we get that detail. I don't have to push very hard, thank God, because that would break with how sharp I got that point. Wade's back there sighing. He must be bored. I'm lightly going to let that come in a bit further for some extra detail. Pull that one out the other direction. Watch your reference photo to see what direction those lines should go. Stacy said, I have some sanded UArt paper. Could I use that? Absolutely. When I use the UArt, I was using UArt 600, I believe. Nick would know. I'm pretty sure I was using UArt 600. 800? I think it was 600. I haven't used it in a while and I don't remember. But yeah, UArt, I have used that. Fisher 400 was what I used to use. Now I use the Lux Archival. But definitely you want to go with sanded paper. Same thing here. We're going to curve it around this way. Watch the direction of that curve. We've got a little brighter area here. We'll go over, pull that out. And I'm pushing a bit harder now. So get this edge. I'm going to come over this with Touch Up Texture Titanium White to really pull out some of these highlights. If you don't have that, just keep building with your pencils. Darken up the inside here. I'm going to lightly go over that with a pencil to just burnish and blend that. So you'll often hear me talk about don't burnish, don't push too hard because I don't want to damage the tooth of the paper. That doesn't mean I never burnish. I burnish at the end if I'm going to. Thank you, Mary. Mary did a super chat. Mary says, I'm homebound most of the time, even before Corona hit. And your creativity and instruction keeps me motivated to draw and paint each day. Thank you for reminding me why I loved art in the first place. Oh, you gave me goosebumps. Thank you. Okay, seriously, I tear up why? I have to stop doing that. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm that person when someone gives me like anything that's a gift, I have to keep forever. And it counters my whole, but I want everything nice and clean and organized. But if somebody gave me something, I will keep that. I'm forever. Like I have this weird sentimental thing when anyone gives me something. So yeah, the super chats feel like that to me. Like, oh my gosh, thank you. That's so thoughtful. Ryan says, hi, it's 3:40 a.m. here. Oh, you're up early or late. By the way, I'm kind of interested in what you think about the contemporary expensive plain art that I personally think is terrible. It's not my preference, but I mean, I can understand why somebody thinks it looks nice in their home. So I'm not going to like bash it in that sense, but it's definitely not my preference. I don't find it interesting myself for the most part. But then there have been times where I've seen someone do something in a style like that, and I still thought, I'm like, wow, okay, that's a pretty, like, I get that. I've seen that with abstract too. Abstract's not typically my preference, but I've seen some where I'm like, I get that. I get why somebody would really like that when it's done really well. Art's funny though. It's just so subjective. I mean, I could, a good example. So I did last week, we did the live stream with the dandelion. And then I did it again with an airbrush, which to me looks far, far better. But you still will have people who prefer the one without. Like, to me, it's not nearly as nice, but it's just personal preference. It doesn't mean one is right or wrong. Well, okay, wait, my opinion's always right, obviously. But I mean, it's so, art is just very, very subjective. So I definitely can respect where someone likes something that I don't like. But yeah, it's not typically my preference. I'm just lightly going over this here so I get that nice blend down. I kind of lost the white area down here. Let's pull that back in. I'll have to blend that out. Okay, I'm going to come back through with the darks. Bruce said, I'm the same as sentimental. Oh, don't ask me how hard it was to trash some stuff after decades. I can't do it. And like so every card, my mom always sends me like birthday cards, Easter cards. She didn't send an Easter card this year, but she always sends like stuff like that. And I keep all of them. Plus my mom's hilarious, so there's usually something just funny in there. Like, what was one of her cards one year? It wasn't even a card. She took a piece of printer paper and folded it in half and then drew a flower on it and said she was going to buy a card, but she didn't like any at the grocery store, so she figured screw it and bought beer instead with the money and decided to make me her own. Like, some of the stuff she does is so funny. But, like, I have so much stuff like that from my mom. Like, I don't think she intended me to keep it, but I'm like, I can't get rid of this. This is hilarious. Jamie said, when you do the highlights with the white pencil, it reminds me of painting. Yeah, it's very much, I mean, with colored pencil, we often call colored pencil painting and not drawing because it very much is like painting. You're just painting with a pencil. And what I'm doing now, there's so much pencil on the paper. This is blending without necessarily, some of it I'll go over with OMS, but a lot of it doesn't need it. And so you get that very painterly look with a lot of this. See how I just work back and forth, watch those values. I don't care if it's too purple, I don't care if it's too red, that really isn't a big deal to me. But are my darks dark enough and my lights light enough? That's what is going to make your work look more realistic. We often get in our heads, and I apologize for those of you who've been around long, you hear me say this like every day, or not every week, every lesson, whatever. We often, and I was like this when I first started painting and drawing. In my head, if I knew what color to paint that tiger, if I had the exact right orange, it would look realistic. No, it's just going to look like a tiger, a cartoon tiger in a different color. It's not going to make a difference. What makes a difference is, are your darks dark enough and your lights light enough? That will make all the difference in the world in your work. Let's see, Scarlet. Did I use Scarlet for this? Ooh, Scarlet looks kind of nice. Actually, what I want is a nice bright orange. I should be able to get that. I'm going to play around with a couple of colors to see what I think looks nicer. I want to get a little bit more of a glow. Maybe. Let's try. That looks like a nice orange. It's actually just dark cadmium orange. Do you want brighter than? No. Comfy on your back over there, Gibson? He's nuzzling in. He moans. He's like nuzzling into his bed. So cute. Let's see. Kat said, I have a question about varnish. I use acrylics when I varnish and end up with a tacky feeling. How do I get rid of the tackiness, or could it be the varnish? I'm guessing it's the varnish you're using. I mean, once it's dry, it shouldn't feel well, I mean, as tacky as my pencils, it should feel like that. It's plastic. So that's what it should feel like, if that makes sense. Okay, this is a much better orange. This one is just, let's see, we've got dark cadmium orange, and I've also got light cadmium red. I'm thinking the dark cadmium orange. Putting this on there with all of these magentas, it's going to make the magentas glow a little bit more. Just gives a nice, pretty look. Oops, I need something that's more opaque to stand out on this one. I don't want to put this everywhere, but it just gives me this nice glow. Okay. I'm going to pull a little bit more with the pink over that magenta. I'm pushing a little bit harder now, letting that show up. Going over the white here. Now, one of the problems I always struggle with colored pencil, not struggle with, I just find I wish there were more light fast pinks. And I know there are a ton of, like, Prismacolor has some, English, try it, Lisa, bright fluorescent pinks, but they're not light fast. So there are bright pinks out there, but light fast bright pinks. I wish there were more. It's like hard. That's a color that is just a challenge that I really do wish we had more of in colored pencil. Okay, that's all I needed for that. Just a little bit of that light green. Okay, now I'm going to use Touch Up Texture Titanium White mixture, and I am going to paint on a few highlights just to show you how you can get these bright marks or values on there. So is this one full? Yeah, this is a new one. This is the colored pencil Touch Up Texture. I've got to mix that really well so that will stick right. And I need my little condiment cup lid that I mix this in. It should be back here somewhere. There it is. But what you want to do with this, there's a sediment at the bottom that settles. You want to make sure you mix that up until it's completely evenly mixed. Don't think, oh, good enough. No, it needs to be completely mixed in order for this to work. Okay, so what I'm going to do, watch too, I've done this before, colored pencil powder blender and colored pencil titanium white. The label looks almost the same. Make sure you read that to grab the right one. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to pour some of this into, oh, that wind is getting crazy. I'm going to pour a little bit of this onto my condiment cup. I don't know if you can see that there. And now I'm going to pour a bit of the Touch Up Texture right on top of it, and I'm going to mix them together so that I get the consistency about like that paint I was talking about earlier. And I'm just going to use that liner brush we talked about earlier. This one is a synthetic hog hair liner brush. I'm going to stir these two together. Now, if it's too thick and too pasty, then I just need to add more touch-up texture. If it's too thin, I need more titanium white mixed in. Mine's a little on the thin side, but that's fine for this. So we want to mix it so that it's thinned out and you can get those details on there. So now I can come through and get these sharp edges that weren't really coming out with the colored pencil. So if let's say you're working on something with whiskers or little hairs or something like that, and your colored pencils are just not giving you that fine detail, this will do it for you. And this is the only product that you can paint on top of colored pencils and have it be archival. Acrylic paint, you may think, well, I'll just use it white acrylic paint. It may look nice temporarily, but it's not archival. Over time, that's not going, you're putting a water-based product on top of a wax and oil-based pencil. That is not going to last. Gel pens, all of that. The only thing that you can put on top of your colored pencil like this and have it be archival is this product. This was made specifically for colored pencil and for being archival. So what I'm doing, I'm blending it like I would with paint. I'm taking this other brush, I'm like, soften the edge. This is just a clean round brush that I used for acrylic painting recently. Soften the edge. Now here's the cool thing. Let's say you go too dark and you're like, oh, that's way too much white. But when it dries, go over it with your colored pencil. Touch-up texture adds tooth to the paper, so your pencil's gonna stick really well on top of it. But just a warning, make sure it's dry all the way. And I don't mean dry for like, oh, it's dry to the touch, dry for 5 minutes. No, give it 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't know. Give it a bit more time to dry because it will, or it can, I should say, chip a little bit. It'll kind of flake up if it's not really set all the way. I mean, I'm lazy all the time and do it too soon, but I'll just fix it if it happens. I don't really care, but you know, tip if that is a problem for you. See how I can get these really nice, bright highlights. I do want to blend that out though, that's a bit harsh. And does that mean you can't create beautiful work without this product? No, but I personally don't like working without it. Like for me, it's a must-have. It really made a difference in how I could get highlights and such that I really struggled with before, like whiskers or little bits of hair. Like it just makes everything much, much easier. Excuse me. I feel like I'm almost like I'm cheating because it's so much easier. I definitely, personally, do not want to work without this product. Now this is a little bit too light. That's okay. I'll take another pencil and go over it when it dries. Let that tone down a little bit. And I'm just going to smudge that out. There we go. Now I need to rinse this actually before I damage this brush. I will be right back. Let me rinse this in water. I should have had water waiting here. Right back. Okay. Get up, son. You look bored. I'm stepping on dog toys. Okay, so that is it for this. I mean, like I said, this is a little bright, so I can go over that. If I go now, it may or may not stick because that's not really dry. But just for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna lightly go over that. That is it. And the thing that I love with the black paper, it is a very fast project. These colors are not as vibrant as they would be on white. If you were working on white, just go around and hit the black pencil over it. Yours will look a lot better than what mine does. This is a very, it's a matte finish. It's very muted, very dull, I guess. Whereas if you do your black with colored pencil, you're gonna get a lot more depth. I think it looks nicer, but that works. We've got a few more minutes. I'll answer some questions that you guys have, if you have any. Let's see. Where were we? Jamie said, your technique with pressure has taught me so much. I used to pound the paper with a pencil. So was I. I was the same. And it was amazing to me how much more control you could get by not doing that. Kat said, excuse me, Kat said, I have a question about varnish. I use oh wait, I got that one. We already answered that. I'm out of order here. Phyllis said, I guess that means the crocheted tops I made are in your closet forever. Oh, I will never get rid of those. They are absolutely in my closet forever. I love them anyway. Thank you for those, by the way. But yep, you are correct. Whoops, knocking things over. Let's see. And that's what's bad too with clothes, because clothes get worn out over time. But if it was a gift, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I will just, this lives here now. Prakash said, hello. Hold on, I'm trying to close the OMS. There we go. Said, hello from India. It's 1 a.m. here. Awake just to watch and learn while you chat and answer Q. I find it useful to improve. Do you improve darks? Dark enough and lights light enough is my new favorite. Yeah, I need to change my merch, I think, to say that. I'm trying to figure out how to way to do it that people don't take it out of context and think it's like some kind of segregation type of thing, but I don't know. I'm like, some people take everything out of context, but I want to do merch, change that for the, what is it, spring tea I think I use. I need to make some more designs for those, but I thought that would be good. You're welcome, Kat. Sergio said, well, it was really enjoyable seeing the tulip come to life. We should do this more often. We are. We've been doing them twice a week. This has worked out really well because, I mean, I'm not doing the normal edited video right now because this is taking the place of that, but it's kind of fun because it's that start to finish, and it's actually less work for me to do this than to do an edited video. So it works out really well. But next week my hope is to do the acrylic primary. So we'll talk about blending and color mixing, and then the Inktense. I don't know which will be Friday, which will be Wednesday. But the plan is the same, Friday night, 8 p.m. Central Time, and, I'm sorry, God, I keep getting these wrong. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Time, Friday, 1 p.m. Central Time is the plan for those. Stacy said, do you think that the luminance will come out with more colors? God, I hope so. They're definitely, I thought somebody said that they were, or somebody said, I think somebody told me, was it last live stream, that they thought they would? I really, really, really hope so. I would love more. I want my favorite, like, Polychromos, Luminance, and Derwent Light Fast. Those are like my 3 absolute favorites. I want all of them to come out with more colors. I always want more colors. Phil said, a funny thing, I'm so concentrated in my drawing and listening to the live. I just saw that now. That tulip is awesome. Thank you. Oh, we just missed a bunch. Hold on, that scrolled a bunch. There we go. Gail said, thanks. It's beautiful. Gotta run. Take care. Bye, Gail. Thanks for joining. Azu said, wow, Lisa, this tulip is just amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Sheila said, great video. Thanks for your expertise. Thanks. Boots Diamond Painting and Art Mama said, I kept meaning to join Patreon and finally figured out how to join. Well, welcome. That's probably what some of my emails. Oh, what do I have here? Anything? Ooh, that's what's out on the thing. I bought this humeric something char or whatever to make the grass happy. It's like an organic. It just makes the soil nice, doesn't hurt the bugs. That's important, at least for me. So yeah, that's out on the porch. I'm excited. That wasn't supposed to be here till Sunday. I get to play in the dirt. Let's see. You guys care, I know. I'm obsessed with dirt apparently. Maya said, living the Greyhound photos on Patreon. They're gorgeous. I'm glad you like them. Oh, and I'm excited. So they just contacted me earlier. They've got, how many more dogs did she say they just got in? Let's see. She just told me. She said 6 new beauties just came in. So I'm going on Monday to photograph them too. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to continuously like bombard Patreon reference photos as here you get more greyhounds every month. But I do think I want to provide those photos to you guys anyway, in addition to like wildlife and florals and stuff. So there will be more of those for you guys. Let's see. Yeah, we are good. It is 3 o'clock. Wow. Done right on the dot there for 2 hours. We've got Richard said, just arrived. Looks like I missed the fun again. That's beautiful though. Thank you. Thank you, Julian. Julian sent a super chat with a little teal. Is that a chicken? What is that? Teal pear? I don't know. It's like teal, so that's good. Thank you, Julian. You guys have been like so crazy kind. Oh, I'm going to get all teary again. Okay, we are done before I break down in tears because people gave me gifts and that means something to me. Apparently it means too much to me because I get all gooey. But thank you guys so much. Oh, Sebastian said, have you tried Pitt's art brush pens? I'm thinking to buy them. I've used them for like quick sketches. They came in my smart art box. They're awesome. My husband loves them. He does like line art type stuff and really likes them. So are you guys, does anyone want to say goodbye? Wade. Nothing. Look, the greyhounds are the laziest dogs. Nothing. Wade. He knows his name. He just doesn't care. Gibson, do you want to come say goodbye? Gibson, come here. Gibson, come. Gibson, come. Oh God, he's just stretching. They're both Gibson knows to come, and he's normally good with it. He just stretches, looking like, no, it's not happening. Okay, well, the greyhounds are not going to say goodbye to you today. Thank you guys again, and yeah, I will see you Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. Hey, I got it right this time. And then again at 1 p.m. Central Time on Friday. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Oh, and don't forget to check out our moderator channels. Nick Edgar and Joseph Fincham both have art channels here on YouTube. Links are in the description. They help so much. Go subscribe to them. Watch. They've got good content too, so you're going to want to watch and subscribe anyway. But you should go check them out. I will see you guys later. Bye.